So after you've identified points, you may be asked to identify lines. So lines are the entire piece. So we see this line. If I want to refer to that line, I would call it line AB because the points A and B are on that line. Another line would be line EF. I could refer to it as line EF. I could even refer to it as line EG because it also has point G on it. I could also refer to it as FG or any kind of combination with those letters. So all three of these would represent the same line. And then a third line you might identify is right there, line HI. So notice I've used my symbol for line, which is the short line with the arrows at the end above my 2 points that I'm going to find on that line. And then if I want to identify some line segments, remember that's just a piece of the line. It's not the whole line. So for example, right here, what I've highlighted, that would be line segment. And see the notation there, HI. So that's different. This piece is different than a line because I've left the arrows off, because this piece, the line segment, doesn't go forever in both directions. It stops at those 2 endpoints, which are my H is an endpoint and my I is an endpoint. Another line segment you may identify would be FG. So that line segment, FG, again, no arrows on the end of that. And then one more line segment could be AB, line segment AB, could be another line segment. Next, you may be asked to identify a ray. Now, a ray consists of an endpoint, and then it goes on forever in another direction. So here I would have, that would be a ray. So it starts at the point I, and it goes toward H, and it passes H and goes on forever in that direction. So notice the way I'm going to write that. It starts at I, so that's the point I refer to first, and it goes towards H, and then it continues on forever. Another ray that you can see would be ray FG, and the endpoint it starts at is F, and it goes towards G and goes past it forever. Another line segment, or another ray, sorry, it could be DC. So it starts at point D and goes towards C and then past it forever. And those are all rays that you could pick out in this diagram. So next we're going to talk about parallel lines. So if you look at the diagram, hopefully you notice there's really only one set of parallel lines given in this diagram. And I'm going to highlight the parallel lines. These are my 2 lines that appear to be the same distance apart the entire time and appear to never cross, or they don't have the potential to cross. And so remember, when we're saying 2 lines are parallel, we use this symbol in between where we notate the 2 lines. So EF, line EF is parallel to line HI. And we talked about, I could also write it as line FG is parallel to line HI. So that's the way I would indicate parallel lines on this diagram. So next we're going to look at intersecting lines. So we can see that line CD actually intersects 2 lines. It intersects line EF, so you could write that line CD, and there's no fancy way to put intersects, you just have to write it, intersects line EF. But hopefully you also notice that line CD also intersects line HI. So you could also say line CD intersects line HI. So those are our two examples in this diagram of intersecting lines. Now lastly, we're looking for a set of lines that intersect in a special way at a 90-degree angle. And remember that box indicates that it's an angle that's 90 degrees. So we can see there's only one pair of lines that look like they cross in a way that forms right angles all around. So if we look, these look like they could all four be right angles. And we do have a special way that we write that. So I would say line EF is perpendicular to line AB. So remember, when something intersects at that 90-degree angle, we don't just call them intersecting because they're special. We call them perpendicular because they're intersecting at that 90 and creating those 90-degree angles on all sides. And in this diagram, that's the only set of lines that look to be close to perpendicular. Okay, hopefully those two videos helped review your geometric, basic geometric concepts that hopefully you remember from 4th grade. And so now with your Elbow Buddy, you have your worksheet to complete.